speak now to former TVC President Peter Esele, who joins me on the program. Thank you for joining us first 100 days. Finally, we seem to have a president with the guts to implement the removal of fuel subsidy. Why do you think it's been a difficult nut to crack for many years? Mr. Esele, I was asking you, why do you think the removal of fuel subsidy has been a difficult task for government in the past years?
Hello, I didn't hear your question, please.
Why has the removal of fuel subsidy been a very difficult task for the federal government in the past years?
Yes, it has been a difficult task because of policy flip-flop by the federal government. The federal government lacks direction and they're inconsistent in their policy direction.
Absolutely.
If I'm to take you back to the last time President Jonathan did it, President Jonathan virtually had people, I would say, fifth columnists, who actually didn't believe in it. So it was basically three people in that administration driving the process. And that was the president, the Minister of Finance, then Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and then the former governor of the CBN, then who later became the Emir of Kano. So for you to take away the subsidy, there are certain parameters that you need to look at. And those parameters, previous government didn't do it. And this current administration also needs to be careful in how it manages it. First thing you need to ask is, why is NNPC at the moment being the one fixing price? If you are deregulating, you deregulate. And everybody has the right to bring in product. But for NNPC to also now be the one fixing the current prices across the country, that is a monopoly waiting to happen.
About that, Mr. Esele, the NNPC seem to have denied that. It says that price was just for its own filling stations across the country.
I'm also telling you that I've also spoken to marketers. Marketers also told me that's the price that was given to them to sell by NNPC.
What happens now moving forward? Because the NLC is set for a shutdown, a national strike by Wednesday. TUC met with the federal government yesterday. As we speak right now, the NLC is also meeting with representatives of the federal government at the Esele Villa. Do you think a national strike is a solution to this challenge?
A national strike is not a solution, but a national strike is also a pressure on the government. The national strike is for the government to do what it has to do. The first thing is we need to have had a tripartite agreement. The tripartite committee, which is labor, government, and employer, so that you have what are called building blocks towards finding, augmenting, or mitigating the challenges that the ordinary Nigerians are going to face. We are going to have a lot of headwinds in the short term, but hopefully if government does what it has to do, and then we may have progress in the long run. But the biggest challenge facing government and Nigerians at the moment is what I call trust deficit.
Indeed. President Tinubu has now hinted an upward review in the minimum wage. What more do you expect as a form of intervention from the federal government at this time?
If you talk about upward review of the minimum wage, how many Nigerians? Let me take away my cap as a former TUC president or former Pengassin president, but let me now talk as a Nigerian. When I use the word without any of those baggages, how many Nigerians are really employed in the organized sector? So if you set a minimum wage, the minimum wage would benefit about less than 10%. Organized sector is less than about 4 or 5%. Of organized sector. So how do you take care of those people in Balogun market? How do you take care of those people who are in the informal sector? Now, the major thing you need to do to take care of those people in the informal sector is to make sure you have a holistic transport system. The major aspect where Nigerians are suffering is cost of transportation. So if you deal with the cost of transportation by having a centralized, forward-looking administration, not just the federal government, because one of the biggest problems Nigerians make is that we put attention on the federal government. State governors get more money than the federal government in terms of the sharing of the subsidy formula. So what will happen is the money that goes to the state government, what is it used for? Local government also gets it. So we must be able to get what I call VFM, which is value for money. And the transportation system is one that will affect everybody. So for me, that is fair. Secondly, you have to look at tax rebate. Tax rebate for the ordinary man, workers, you are looking at workers, how much are they paying as taxes? You take that off. And then you subsidize agriculture. And then we should be able to look at areas where we know that these are catalysts for growth. And then we put money there to also ensure. Look at gas. We are not a crude oil country. Nigeria is not an oil producing country. We are actually a gas country. So we deploy gas. We deploy gas for people, for businesses to run. And we create incentives for private sector to invest in gas. And when they invest in gas, what you have is that gradually we will all get used to this. And in the long term, we will all look back and smile that we went on this journey.
Indeed.
But on the condition that government policies are genuine and
Mr.
direct.
Esele, hopefully all these interests are represented on the table as labor unions sit down with the federal government to discuss these issues. Mr. Esele is former TVC president. Thank you for talking to us on the first 100
Thank you for having me.
That's our program today. You can watch a repeat broadcast tomorrow at 6 a.m. I am Nifemi Ogutoye. I'll be back at the top of the hour. Stay with us.